Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, we're in this crazy trial at the moment that we've been following, the trial of Erin Patterson. We're at day 5. I'm going to tell you what happened on day 5 of this trial, the mushroom trial. Remember Erin Patterson? She's the lady who is accused of allegedly lacing beef Wellingtons with death cap mushrooms and killing 3 of her estranged husband's relatives. His mother, his father, and his auntie, and also almost killing his auntie Gail's husband Ian, who survived this poisoning situation. Now, the thing is, there is no doubt that there were death cap mushrooms in the beef Wellingtons that were served to these unfortunate people. And they died, the 3 people who died, they died very long, painful, lingering deaths. Because these death cap mushrooms, they do not kill instantly. You know, they break down the body's vital organs and they kill slowly, painfully. They would have suffered a lot. Now, the question is not that the death cap mushrooms were in the beef Wellingtons. The question is, did Erin Patterson put these mushrooms deliberately in these beef Wellingtons, or was it some terrible accident? Now, we found out so far, last week was the first week of the trial. The trial has been designated to last between 4 and 6 weeks. So we're only just entering the second week. So there's a long way to go. So it seems like there's going to be quite a lot of evidence presented. And what's been happening sort of the last couple of days before the weekend and yesterday, as far as Australia is concerned, is Erin's ex-husband, Erin's estranged husband, took the stand and he's been talking. So that's what we're going to look at, what happened sort of in this day 5 of this trial. And yeah, don't forget to leave your comments below what you think. Do you think Erin Patterson is guilty, or do you think it was a terrible accident? Literally, the jury is out. Well, they're not out yet, but they will be. The jury will be hearing all the facts, and they're the ones that have got to decide. Is Erin Patterson guilty of murder, or was this some terrible misunderstanding? Okay, so yeah, as I say, don't forget to let me know your comments below, but also please don't forget to subscribe, to like this video, press notifications if you want the updates as we go along. So I'll be covering this trial right through to the end. Okay, so let's have a look. What can we see? We're going to have a look at a little, what's the word? We'll have a look at a little news item first.
Murder trial has heard Erin Patterson used an online chat group to conduct recipe research before allegedly preparing the deadly dish.
Today, social media friends answered questions in the witness box about the accused killer's online activity after her ex-husband completed his evidence.
In the second week of this high-profile murder trial, Erin Patterson's life online has been put in the spotlight. Facebook friends of the accused mushroom killer telling a jury she'd excitedly shared about buying a dehydrator. In our private chat group, she shared photos of her dehydrating mushrooms. I believe it was a couple of months before the lunch. The jury also told Erin claimed to have been hiding powdered mushrooms in everything, mixed it into chocolate brownies yesterday. The kids had no idea.
Oh, that's a little bit worrying, isn't it? So she's been sort of putting mushrooms in their brownies.
It's also alleged she sought recipe advice for the same dish at the centre of her murder trial. Erin asked a question in the group asking if anyone has ever cooked a beef Wellington before and if they had any advice. Another Facebook friend from a true crime group gave evidence that
Now, this is her husband. Now, he was invited as well to the lunch, but he decided not to go. And she did get a little bit irritated with him for not going. She invited everyone to this lunch saying that she had something very important to talk about. Anyway, her husband did not go, luckily for him. So then, did you hear what they just said then? So she was part of a true crime group on Facebook.
gave evidence that she'd vented about her ex-husband, Simon, in particular the decisions around divorce, separation, how the kids should be educated and brought up. She found all of that very controlling and demanding.
Well, that's not much. It says Christine Hunt, friend. It's not much of a friend that she's saying all those bad things about her. But yeah, I mean, so she had been, thing is, you know, she's bound to vent about the divorce, etc. You know, she wasn't happy. Though it seems like it was her who wanted the divorce, apparently. But then she seemed to sort of complain about it. Now, we found in the first week of the trial, of course, there were no financial issues. Here. It was, she inherited a lot of money from her grandmother. So it doesn't seem that she had money problems, but there were some problems about different properties that they owned and the title of the properties and the names, etc. And so this Christine Hunt, who, as I say, says she's a friend, but not very friend-like, but said that they talked a lot about the decisions, or she vented a lot about the decisions around divorce, separation, how the kids should be educated and brought up. Interesting.
She found all of that very controlling and demanding. Mr. Patterson also gave evidence today about a conversation he'd had with his ex-wife 2 days after the lunch. Her lawyer asked him if that's when he'd accused Ms. Patterson of poisoning his parents, aunt and uncle. Just after the conversation about the dehydrator, you said to Erin, "Is that what you used to poison them?" Mr. Patterson replied, "I did not say that to Erin." Ms. Patterson has pleaded not guilty to all charges. The trial continues tomorrow.
Court reporter Estelle Griepink is live in Morwell for us. Estelle, jurors also heard more about tensions between Erin Patterson and her in-laws.
Good evening, Karina. They did. And Simon Patterson actually gave evidence about a family policy where any messages sent by Erin Patterson to the family group chat wouldn't be read by his mother because she already struggled with anxiety. Simon Patterson also said there was a text message sent to that family group chat that he described as inflammatory and extremely aggressive. And he said he was still upset about that message today. Now, he's just wrapped up 3 days of evidence here at Morwell Law Courts. Tomorrow, we're expecting to hear from a new witness. Karina?
Okay, we look forward to your reports then, Estelle Griepink in Morwell. Thank you.
So a new witness. So the next, tomorrow when I report on it, be a new witness. Now, let's have a look at, so the Guardian has been doing like a blow-by-blow account of what happens. And I think we will have a look at that. So it started off, the jury entered the court. The jury entered the court and let's see what transpired then. I don't think there's one before that, is it? No, just good morning. The jury enters the court for day 5. So, first thing that happened was Simon Patterson denied asking Erin, "Is that what you used to poison them?" As Mr. Mandy asked Simon about his previous evidence that while at Monash Medical Centre, Erin told him she did a blind taste test with their daughter with muffins cooked using dehydrated mushrooms. And he says after this conversation, Erin and Simon were alone in the room together as their kids would sometimes leave the hospital room to go to the vending machine. And Mr. Mandy says Simon asked Erin, is that what you used to poison them? Talking about the dehydrator. And this conversation, allegedly, took place 2 days after the lethal lunch. But Simon rejects this. I did not say that to Erin, he says. Now, something that's important about this case as well is there's quite a lot of testimony from the victims. Obviously, they can't give their testimony here in court, apart from the guy who has survived. But because it took so long for these 3 poor, unfortunate souls to die, there is testimony from them, if you understand what I mean, because they did not die instantly. So they have said things after they were ill, in between when they got ill and when they died. There is testimony from the victims themselves, which is unusual, isn't it, in murder cases? So then Mr. Mandy concluded his cross-examination of Simon Patterson, and he told Simon that the messages he's shown today are the only messages about the payment of school fees, because Simon has characterised Erin as inflammatory and aggressive during a dispute over the children's school fees, jurors are told. And Simon says the message he is thinking of in saying that has not been shown today. And Mr. Mandy concluded his cross-examination. So then the Crown Prosecutor, Nanette Rogers, she came back to, ask Simon some more questions. Because she's already cross-examined him. She's already sort of taken his testimony. And then what happens, obviously, the defence then gets a chance, and now the prosecution's coming back to say a few more things. So Simon Patterson answers questions about inflammatory messages from Erin. Nanette Rogers now re-examines Simon, and Simon says his mother agreed not to read the messages sent from Erin to reduce the anxiety she had about being diagnosed with encephalitis. Now, don't forget, his mother is deceased. His mother has died from this toxic lunch. But that's quite it's quite a big sort of statement, isn't it? To why, if Erin's messages were so sort of, inflammatory or aggressive, that his mother, because she wasn't well, she agreed not to read them. He says the inflammatory message was a few months after the previous messages shown to the court from December 2022. I presume that message at some point through the trial is going to come out, because at the moment it's just his word against hers. If he's saying there was an inflammatory message, but it hasn't been presented yet, so that can't be, it's not evidence until we actually see it, is it? Because he can say that, but at the end of the day, that doesn't mean to say it's true. So he recalls at this time his son was very tired while staying with him. He subsequently asked Erin to help his son get to bed earlier. He says Erin sent a reply to the group chat on Signal with his parents. I'll tell you what, if Mum would have read that, I don't know what that would have done to her. Now, again, we don't know that, we haven't seen this message. And when he was asked by Rogers what was inflammatory about the messages, Simon said it was having a crack at me and accusing me of some things in response to what I'd messaged her about. That's not the bit I objected to. It was the fact she'd sent it, especially to my something, knowing Mum's condition and what that can do to Mum. I'm still upset about that. But again, what's the mystery over this message? We still haven't heard what the message. It's all right saying it was inflammatory, but where is the message? So then they had a lunch break. Then what happened? All right. That was that. So, just following No, let's go back. We haven't heard that. So the trial resumed. Christine Hunt said, so that was the lady we saw earlier on the news report. Christine Hunt said she first met Erin Patterson in a true crime group. Christine Hunt said she first met Erin Patterson about 6 years earlier as part of a Facebook true crime group focused on former water polo player Kelly Lane, who was convicted of killing her newborn baby daughter. I don't know that case. I don't want to know it, to be honest. I don't like covering cases with children, especially not babies. She says it was focused on Lane's trial, and the first group included about 2,000 people. Well, gosh, I'll tell you what I would like to see is what Erin's comments were in that group. Was she criticising, I don't know if Kelly, well, she was convicted, so presumably she was guilty. But, I wonder what Erin's comments were. Was she kind to her? She'd expect people to be fine. People have given me a hard time saying, oh, she's innocent till she's proven guilty, which of course she is. But I wonder what Erin. Let's have a look. I wonder if I can find that. Kelly Lane Facebook group. Kelly Lane Exposed. I wonder if it's that one. There's a few. That's the problem. I might have to research that bit. But let me wonder if I can search Erin Patterson on there. Surely her Facebook would be deleted now. I don't know. No results. Yeah, that's something I'm going to have to look into whether she can be. I couldn't find her in that particular group, but there's quite a few groups, so I will look into that. So where were we? So being as a large group as it was, there was a lot of disagreement and disharmony. And then the Facebook group was reduced to about 20 or 30 people, the court hears. That's a big difference, isn't it? Between 2,000 people to 20 or 30. Anyway. So Christine Hunt said that she was described as a super sleuth. Hunt says, sorry, I think her name's Christine. They keep using the surnames. Says Erin Patterson's Facebook name was originally Erin Patterson, but she changed it to Erin. Oh, maybe that's why I couldn't find her. And then Erin. And Hunt says, or Christine says, people in the second group with up to 30 members got to know each other, shared information about their personal lives, and supported each other. She says Erin posted about her kids, Lego, and buying her home in Leongatha. Just the challenges she was facing, the difficulties she had as a single mum. Well, she's quite a rich single mum. She wouldn't have had as many problems as a single mum who's trying to live on benefits or whatever. She says Erin was highly regarded, but I've got every appreciation for any single parent. But she did get help as well from her husband. But I think financially, she was, she had received this inheritance. The thing is, though, money doesn't last forever. Apparently, she was very generous with that inheritance. Maybe she didn't have any money left. She says Erin was highly regarded in the Facebook group and known as a good researcher, describing her as a super sleuth. Oh, and the group was shut down at the end of 2019, the court hears. Oh, so there's no point in me looking for it because it's been shut down. Okay, so this is the family tree that we have seen before, but this is Don Patterson, Simon's father, and Gail Patterson, Simon's mum. They're both deceased. Heather Wilkinson, what is this doctor? Hey. Heather Wilkinson, which is Simon's aunt, she died, unfortunately, and she was married to Ian Wilkinson. Now, he's going to be a key witness because he's survived. He's still with us. So he's at some point along the line, he's going to be a key witness. And we've got Simon Patterson and Erin Patterson, estranged couple, and they have 2 children who can't be named, obviously, for legal reasons. So apparently, according to this, Erin described her estranged husband as coercive, the court hears. Christine said she had not met Erin in person, but got to know her in the online community, and they had spoken on the phone several times. She recalls Erin describing Simon as coercive, and she said she described Simon's parents as demanding. There were challenges. She didn't like it. She deemed unsettled whenever, I think that means seemed. She seemed unsettled whenever the kids were away. Christine tells the jurors that Erin shared challenges about having a different faith to Simon. She was an atheist and Simon was from a very strong Baptist background. She found that very challenging, is what she shared with us. And Christine says she was on a group call with Erin after the mushroom lunch, but did not speak directly to her. So now Erin's lawyer, Mr. Mandy, now comes and cross-examines Christine, and she agrees that Erin appeared to be a devoted mother and would often post information about her 2 children in the Facebook group. Mr. Mandy then presses Hunt's Christine. Gosh, why are they so disrespectful, aren't they? The mainstream media, they can't get any more disrespectful, really, can they? Anyway, because Christine hasn't done anything, why are they calling her Hunt? Anyway, Mr. Mandy presses her on how Erin characterised Simon in the group. And Christine says coercive and controlling were the words Erin frequently used to describe her estranged husband. And when she was questioned on her previous use of the word abusive, Christine says she used the word because coercive control is a form of abuse. And then Mr. Mandy then turns to Christine's evidence that Erin was an atheist. Simon puts to her that Erin attended church. She replies that Erin shared that she did not necessarily believe in God. And she adds, I knew the kids went to a faith-based school and she was unhappy with that. This is what she says. Of course, at the end of the day, this is what Christine says. May not be true, but is she likely to be lying? I don't know. And then her evidence concluded. So the next witness was Daniela Barkley. She also met Erin Patterson through a Facebook true crime group in early 2019, and Barkley confirms the group had about 30 to 50 members. So quite a small group, really. And apparently, according to her, Erin Patterson said her husband was so difficult to get along with. Let me find her first name again, because they're going to keep calling her Daniela. They're going to keep calling her by her surname. It's going to get on my nerves. So Daniela said the group members would share news articles and true crime podcasts related to the Kelly Lane case. Daniela says another group with 18 members was then created. She says for the first few years, Erin was quite active in this smaller group. In the last year or so, the court heard she barely posted in there. And when asked if Erin spoke about Simon, she says she did so in a Facebook chat group with 5 members. Sometimes she talked about how sad she felt and how he was just so religious, how it was so difficult to get along with him. Some of it was to do with just how he treated their son. She felt like he was always favouring their daughter for some reason, and their son would feel very, very hurt. And then asked what else she shared, Daniela says, it's just that he wasn't a very nice person, as well as her issues with his cleanliness, adding that Erin didn't want their children to stay overnight at Simon's house. Thought cleanliness was next to godliness because he's a pastor, isn't he? Anyway, then she went on to talk about how Erin discussed drying mushrooms, mixing them in brownies, and Erin discussed the dehydrator in the Facebook chat, Daniela says. So jurors were shown a screenshot of a Facebook message Daniela says she received from Erin in 2023, just before the lunch. And she said, according to Daniela, I've been hiding mushrooms in everything, mixed into chocolate brownies yesterday. The kids had no idea. Seems a funny thing to mix into a chocolate brownie though, doesn't it? Anyway, another message that Daniela says is from Erin reads, so the fun fact, the dehydrator reduces mushroom mass by 90%. Do you think Woolies would mind if I brought the dehydrator into their vegetable section and dry things before I buy them? Okay, the screenshots shown are sent from Facebook user. Daniela says the messages were sent from Erin. Well, the thing is on Facebook, if somebody removes themselves from Facebook, it will then their message will just come up as Facebook user. Now, I don't know if the police can, use their marvelous sort of skills to actually find out who the Facebook user used to be before they deleted themselves from Facebook. But I know just because sometimes people send you weird messages, don't they? And when you see them later, then when you haven't replied to them, I mean, I'm talking about people you don't know. Quite often you get message requests, don't you, from sort of people that you have no idea who they are. I just ignore them. And next time you see that message, the name's gone off it and it's Facebook user because they've deleted their profile. Anyway, so Daniela says they were from Erin, and a photo of a dehydrator with dried mushrooms is also shown to jurors. So she obviously was putting mushrooms in the dehydrator, but that doesn't mean to say she was putting the death cap mushrooms in there, does it? But anyway, so a friend asked, this friend says that Erin asked for advice about cooking beef Wellington. So 2 weeks before the lethal lunch, Daniela says Erin asked for advice in the chat about cooking a beef Wellington. And she said she later asked for further advice regarding selecting meat for the dish. And Daniela says Erin did not say why she was cooking a beef Wellington. Well, it's not illegal, obviously, to cook a beef Wellington, only illegal to cook one with death cap mushrooms in it. So this will make a few of my chatters smile, I know, because we quite often have mushrooms as a subject, don't we, in our chat. Erin Patterson told Facebook group she loved mushrooms, a friend says. And now Mr. Mandy is cross-examining Daniela. He says there were discussions actually long before the lunch in July about beef Wellingtons, but Daniela says she can't recall those discussions. She agrees the dish was loved by other members of the Facebook chat, and Daniela says Erin told members of the group that she loved mushrooms. Asked about her evidence that Erin had raised an issue with Simon's cleanliness, Daniela agrees that Erin had told the group she had to clean her estranged husband's house at one point. Oh my God. Anyway, why would she go and clean her estranged? I suppose because the kids were going to stay there. She didn't want to think of her kids going to, a filthy home or whatever. So really, the only cross-examination Mr. Mandy gave her was one that he insists that actually she discussed beef Wellingtons long before the lunch, but Daniela said she couldn't remember that. And then when he asked her about her evidence that she raised an issue, Erin raised an issue with Simon's cleanliness, and Daniela agrees that Erin had told the group she had to clean her estranged husband's house at one point. Yeah, okay, I'm not sure what the relevance of that is, but anyway. Then the next witness is also a Facebook friend of Erin Patterson, and she says that Erin Patterson never discussed foraging for mushrooms. So Jenny Hayes says she first met Erin in a Facebook group that stemmed from the ABC documentary about Kelly Lane. So we're back to this case of Kelly Lane again. And Jenny says that she and Erin were also part of a separate, smaller Facebook group and a private group chat with 5 people. And prosecutor Sarah Lenthal asked if the group chat ever discussed mushrooms. And Jenny replies, yes. We did talk a lot about recipes and things we liked. And she says that in February 2023, Erin bought a dehydrator and was using it to dry mushrooms, including for food that she gave to her children. And when Jenny was asked if Erin ever discussed foraging for mushrooms, she says no. So, because this is the other thing, isn't it? Where did Erin get these mushrooms from? She says she bought them in an Asian supermarket. Now, I wonder if Erin's going to give evidence at any point, because sometimes it's not a good idea for people accused of murder to give evidence. But her lawyer, of course, her solicitor, Mr. Mandy, he will advise her on that. But the thing is, if I remember rightly, they did find her phone data to show that she had been at places where these death cap mushrooms grow. So that's good. I don't know if they're going to make a big thing about that, because although she's saying her friends are saying she never discussed foraging for mushrooms, but there is phone data that shows her in these spots, I think, but it'll come up as the trial goes on. So yeah, mushrooms obviously a big subject in this case. So yeah, the Facebook friend Jenny tells the court Erin told her the mushrooms came from an Asian grocer. And she said that Erin emailed her on the Monday after the mushroom lunch and asked her to call her. And they spoke on the phone for about 10 minutes. And Jenny says Erin told her the mushrooms came from an Asian grocery store. She also recalls Erin saying she was sick after the lunch, had attended hospital, and that her children had been tested after eating some of the meal. And again, all seems to come down to the fact that Erin Patterson loved mushrooms. Again, Jenny said under cross-examination that Erin seemed to really like mushrooms. She says she gave, I'm not even going to mention button mushrooms. She says she gave Erin advice about making a beef Wellington dish, suggesting she wrap the pastry as close as possible to avoid it becoming soggy. And Jenny Hayes' evidence ended there. So that was it with Jenny Hayes' evidence finishing. That was the conclusion of day 5 of the trial. Starts again 10:30 sort of tomorrow, which is like tonight in Australia. And here's just a little sort of summary of it, very kindly done by The Guardian. Erin's estranged husband Simon denied asking her, "Is this what you used to poison them?" in the days immediately after the lethal mushroom lunch. It was alleged he was referring to the food dehydrator, the court heard, although it was not clarified who them referred to. The court was shown a Facebook message Erin wrote in 2023 before the lunch, according to her online friend Daniela Barkley, and it read, "I've been hiding powdered mushrooms in everything. Mixed into chocolate brownies yesterday. The kids had no idea." I don't really like the idea of that. Do you imagine it? If you were, it puts you off eating things that other people have made. Just don't know what they're putting in it, do you? Was she testing it on the kids, see if they noticed, taste-wise? I'm not saying, she obviously wasn't giving them death cap mushrooms because they would have died. But was that her way of testing out the dehydrator and seeing if they were powdered enough? If they didn't even get noticed in chocolate brownies, they weren't going to get noticed in a beef Wellington, were they? Anyway, and a Facebook friend of Erin recalled her describing her estranged husband Simon as coercive and her in-laws as demanding. The 3 Facebook friends who gave evidence did not meet her in person, but communicated in an online true crime groups, online chats, and phone calls. Oh my God, I would love to see her post in those online true crime groups. Was she supportive of people like the accused, or dismissive, or... Anyway, the same witness, Christine Hunt, said that Erin was well regarded in the Facebook group, known as a good researcher, and described her as a super sleuth. So let me know what you think, please, in comments. Let me know what you think. We've still got a long way to go. There's still more evidence to come out. This is a sort of drawing of Erin in court. Yeah. What are we thinking about this? Are we still feeling the same? Some of us, sitting on the fence and waiting till all the evidence come out. I was right from the beginning was leaning a bit more towards her being guilty than not. I always, somebody was saying, I think it was Laurie Vallow, Fruit Loop extraordinaire, saying that, do you know that most people who go to trial, they get found guilty? Well, yes, that's obvious, because to get someone to trial in the first place, the police have to make sure they've got the right evidence. So there's only going to be a small percentage of people that end up being found innocent. If the police have got enough evidence to be able to persuade the DA or the Crown prosecutor or whoever it is to let it go to court, it's more likely that they're going to be found guilty than not guilty, isn't it? Of course it is, because the situation is just the fact they've had enough evidence to be able to take them to court means they're more likely, the odds are more likely they're guilty than not guilty. Because if they don't have enough evidence, they'd be struggling to get their case to court. So, that's sort of how I feel about it. I also didn't like the way she was lying about having cancer, that kind of thing. you just think if somebody can lie about something like that, they can lie about anything really. But she may be innocent. But then they've got, if she's innocent, she's got to prove. They've got to prove that those mushrooms came from that Asian supermarket, haven't they? So be interesting to see how that's, that's what she said. She got them from how's she going to explain that? That this poor Asian supermarket. I mean, I presume they'll have them in as witnesses, because it's like, their fault, isn't it? It's almost like blaming someone else. Maybe saying they weren't careful enough with their products, etc. So yeah, it'd be interesting, won't it, to see how she sort of gets around that. Let's just see if there's any more, maybe a little news thing we can watch. Let's see. Ten news first. We haven't watched that, have we? Let's watch this one. Yeah, we haven't seen this one. It'll just be, saying what we've already know, but sometimes it's good to hear it from another point of view. Sometimes you get a little bit more out of it.
Patterson's triple murder trial in Morwell has heard from 3 of her Facebook friends who revealed how excited she was to experiment with dehydrating mushrooms and adding them to meals. Ms. Patterson is accused of deliberately poisoning and killing 3 of her in-laws by feeding them a beef Wellington dish which contained death cap mushrooms.
Erin Patterson was very active on Facebook, where she made friends and detailed intimate parts of her life. Today, the jury in her triple murder trial heard in the months before the deadly lunch at her home, she posted about how excited she was to buy a food dehydrator. "I've been hiding powdered mushrooms in everything. Mixed it into chocolate brownies yesterday. The kids had no idea."
Yeah, I really don't like that at all. I mean, it just, do you agree with me? I mean, let me know, please, in comments. I don't like the idea of somebody putting stuff into your food that you've got no choice over because you didn't even know it was in there. Why would you do that? I think you've got to think about this and think, why would you do that? Or was she experimenting to see if it could be noticed? Why would you hide powdered mushrooms in everything? What's the reason for doing that? What, a bit of extra vitamins? I don't know. It just seems to me, what was the reason why she did that? It's like she was testing out if you could dehydrate these mushrooms in general, put them into things. And to me, it's like she's testing out, well, if the kids didn't even notice them in chocolate brownies, then they're definitely not going to notice them in beef Wellingtons. Though maybe would she have tried out some beef Wellingtons first with normal mushroom? No, because they'd be expected to be in there. Yeah, strange.
The court heard Ms. Patterson was a member of a true crime Facebook group. She was a bit of a super sleuth in that group, a fellow group member told the jury. The friends she made in the online community said Erin opened up about the difficulties she was having with her estranged husband, Simon Patterson, about how he was so religious and how it was so difficult to get along with him, just that he wasn't a very nice person. Sometimes she felt as though he put the church before her and his family. Another group member told the jury, "I understood they'd sort of grown apart. They were growing in different directions. He was very controlling." She used the word coercive at times, and that his family were really controlling. The court heard Ms. Patterson told her Facebook friends she loved mushrooms and even asked for tips on how to cook a beef Wellington in the weeks before hosting lunch at her Leongatha home. They also revealed she was two-sided on her religious beliefs and only attended church because of her family. She was saying to us publicly that she didn't necessarily believe in God. She described herself as an atheist. Ms. Patterson has denied deliberately poisoning the beef.
Well, that could be a problem, couldn't it? If you don't believe in God and your husband's a pastor, I mean, that's quite extreme, isn't it? It's different, maybe if you're not sure or, but maybe a bit ambivalent, maybe not as religious as your husband or your wife or whatever. But to be an actual atheist, and live with a pastor who's very religious, that is a big bone of contention, isn't it, really?
Wellington with death cap mushrooms. The dish led to the deaths of Simon's parents, Don and Gail Patterson, his aunt, Heather Wilkinson, and left her husband, Ian, fighting for life. She has pleaded not guilty and maintains the 3 deaths were a terrible accident.
You know, I think Ian will be a key witness, won't he? He's, you know, he's going to be, I hope he's well enough to testify, because obviously, although he's survived, he's really been through it. But he's going to be a big witness.
Samantha Butler for 10 News First.
Okay, so there you go. That's our updates. As always, let me know what you think in comments. Do you think it's relevant, her being like a super sleuth? I'll be looking forward to when we get the information about her data collection, you know, that showed sort of where she went. And did she collect these death cap mushrooms? We'll be here. I'm looking forward to Ian's testimony, the survivor. I'm looking forward to the testimony from the Asian supermarket. How do they feel about, you know, not being accused of murder, but being accused of keeping things in their store that could kill someone? You know, there's a lot, isn't there, to unpack in this case, a lot. So no wonder they've made it, you know, they allocated 4 to 6 weeks for it. We're only just beginning the 2nd week. So there's a lot more to come out yet. You know, what be interested to know as well as we go along, for anybody, if you find that you start off thinking, oh yeah, she's guilty, and then you decide no, she isn't, or the other way around. Any of you changed your opinion so far? I mean, we're only shortly into it. I haven't changed my view at the moment. There's sometimes I think, oh, you know, it's possible, but we'll see. I'll wait. As I say, I always start off a trial probably more in the sense that thinking that someone's guilty, because I think, well, if they weren't guilty, would never have been brought to trial. But you do get miscarriages of justice, you know, rare, very rare, but they do happen. So we have to keep that in mind as well. Everyone is innocent till they're proven guilty. Except for Stephen Stearns. He's definitely guilty. Anyway, so thank you for watching. Yeah, I'll be back soon with another video, of course, but I'll be back with an update of this every day. I'll do whatever update I can, whatever update there is. I would definitely be every day a short video just to explain what's happened that day in court. So please remember to like this video if you found it interesting and informative. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed. It's free. Both of those are free. And also don't forget to press your notifications, and don't forget to press all notifications, because otherwise you may miss an update. So thank you. And special thanks, of course, to my members, to people who buy me Ko-Fis, to people who send super chats, PayPal me, etc. Thank you for that extra support you give to my channel. It's so much appreciated. So I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, as always, may your God always go with you. Be careful with those mushrooms. Bye.